Okay, welcome to the audio commentary of The Thing. My name is Matthijs van Heijningen. I pronounce it in a Dutch way. And next to me is Eric Newman.
Hello. I produced the movie with my partner, Mark Abraham, who's here, but he's going to be very, very quiet. He's unlikely to say anything. This is the Cumberland Glacier in British Columbia, which is coincidentally very near where Carpenter shot.
That's correct.
His movie. I guess there aren't a lot of places you can go and get this kind of unbelievable Antarctic vista. Time of year, I think, was probably June. Where were we shooting?
This was March, I think.
March,
yeah. 2010.
It's the first stuff we shot.
It's the first shot, yes. First shot of the day as well.
Yeah.
So that was quite exciting to shoot, the first shot of the movie as shooting it first.
And we had everyone had to be helicoptered into this location, and we had this absolutely insane French-Canadian helicopter pilot who
yes, I remember
truly,
that.
Really amazing stuff.
Yeah, it was actually quite nice that this location was quite near to Stuart.
Yeah,
where Carpenter also had his sort of home base when they shot Outpost 31.
It's funny. This was a somewhat controversial idea when we started to begin the movie in subtitles. It was all in service of the authenticity of what we were going for. We from the very beginning, when we arrived at the idea to do The Thing and to do a version of The Thing, we settled on doing the story of the Norwegians, mm-hmm. who found the creature and who sort of begin the Carpenter movie. And it felt to us like the only way to do it. We didn't want to remake the movie, even though it was a remake itself, the Carpenter movie. We wanted to make a movie that fit in the universe as a companion to the Carpenter movie. We didn't feel we could really improve upon it. We just wanted to do something that complemented it.
Was it ever a problem for the studio?
No, I mean, it was sort of one of those weird things where, when you don't want to sell your house and someone asks you what you'd take for it, mm-hmm. and you name some insane number and the person says, sure, that's great, I'll do it. And that was kind of like, when they came to us with The Thing after we'd done Dawn of the Dead, they said, why don't we do a version of The Thing? And we came up with sort of we'll do it if we can set the movie in, 1982 and tell the story of the Norwegians. And they said, that sounds great.
Yeah, it was interesting casting those Norwegians because we only had 3 months between the green light and the shooting.
Yeah.
This was
not a lot of time.
It was not a lot of time, and we didn't even have time to go to Norway to actually meet those Norwegians. So I saw them all on casting tapes. And Norway is small, there are 4 million people, so the amount of good actors is also small.
And they all knew each other.
They all knew each other, and they've been in endless movies, together. So that was actually good. They already had a bond, as being part of the Norwegian crew in this station. That they spent days or weeks already together, in other movies.
There was an early script by Ron Moore of Battlestar Galactica fame. Mm-hmm. He was the first guy that we...
That was the moment I came in.
That was when you came in.
Yeah.
And the movie changed significantly since then, and one of the things that we decided was important was the actual discovery of the creature, where which we just watched as they fell into the ice, and some really good work by Image Engine.
Yeah.
It's a Canadian effects house.
But in the beginning of even I think in the beginning of the prep, we didn't have the ice cave story. In our earlier versions, it was already excavated, as in John Carpenter's movie, and it was actually Sean Hayward, the production designer. He said, "Wouldn't it be cool that it's still in a cave?"
Yeah,
and that they go inside the cave and all that stuff.
It was a pretty ambitious undertaking.
For me, it was really tricky because there are really clues in John Carpenter's movie that these 12 Norwegians or 10 Norwegians basically with thermocharges blew up the ship and created the crater.
It was a interesting exercise, and like a lot of movies that we enjoy, it works for people who are familiar with the Carpenter movie, and they can experience this movie knowing that all these people are going to die. And you know, there's sort of the ghosts of the Carpenter movie we meet briefly in the beginning, and then we see pictures of them with their find when MacReady visits the Norwegian camp. But it also works if you've never seen that movie and hear a bunch of people.
For me, it was like, you know, seeing those 10 Norwegians with this huge crater, like how would they ever do that?
Yeah.
You know, and it's fine in JC's movie, but here we thought it's actually unbelievable that, like, you know, a girl and 9 guys would have created this, even if they had thermocharges.
Yeah, it's massive. It's a massive excavation.
So it's a little. That's the only thing I think we are not completely accurate with JC's movie, but it sort of visually it worked better.
This was a scene that we really went back and forth on. Mary, and we'll do a minute on Mary. Mary was the first piece of casting. We needed and there's been a lot of people have written about it on the internet and griped about the fact that there's a woman in the movie, and you know, that's that.
We call that in Dutch swearing in the church.
Yeah, we wanted someone who could bring our audience into this adventure, someone who we could relate to, somebody who had something at stake. The Carpenter movie is about a group of guys who made a choice in their life to go live and work in Antarctica. Yes. And obviously it was motivated, I'm sure, by money. I mean, they didn't really address it, but it's not a relatable pursuit. It's not something that you would say, hey, I'm going to go.
Yeah, you always stress that.
Yeah, it was just important. Yeah. So we thought, let's give this girl something that everybody understands, which is an opportunity. We're going to invite you on this adventure, and you know, we start in a lab in New York, and very quickly we're here, you know, flying in a helicopter over the Antarctic and headed to a research station to discover something pretty incredible.
Yeah, but I think it was not our first choice to have Mary, you know, playing the female lead. I think we should have even, you know, searched or were looking for a male character, but you know, it was always competing with MacReady.
Yeah.
And something you could never win.
Yeah. Well, there was, remember in the early script, it was just kind of embarrassing, but we had MacReady's brother.
Yes.
And
well, we had it for a day.
Yeah, we had it for a day.
But I think we pitched that to the studio.
Yeah, and they loved it. Sure, MacReady's brother, but it just, you know, we had little, you know, we at one point he was
awful.
He was carrying a case of JB.
Yes, for his brother.
For his brother. And then there was a moment where he had a falling out with his brother. They had a woman or something.
Yeah, there was even a flashback.
Yeah, there was a flashback.
And we would do sort of digitally recreate Kurt Russell as a younger. A climbing accident. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was insane. But you know, that's the part of the process that you go through to arrive at.
I have to say something about this scene is that we actually shot a much longer scene in a hangar in McMurdo.
Yeah.
Where we introduced Carter and Jameson and Griggs. For a while, we had it in the edit. You know, telling the story basically that they were ex-vets. You know, Vietnam vets, and sort of started a business in Antarctica. The scene was okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
but it sort of was too long, and
it slowed us down.
Yeah, it slowed us down.
And we had, you know, in these, you know, Joel Edgerton, who's a phenomenal actor and a great guy, and I think had a lot of fun making the movie. He automatically was going to be compared to MacReady, and he was going to feel like the male lead of the movie, and he is, but we were challenged by that to do something narratively different with him, and I think we do in the film. I think there's a lot of surprises when it comes to his character. We should note that today is September 29th, maybe, I think.
Yeah, it is.
And
the movie still has to come out.
The movie comes out in 2 weeks. So either you bought this movie on the shelf at Walmart, or it was given to you
as a
present in a free giveaway from Target.
Yeah, it was shot in Toronto in the mine pits.
Oh yeah, talk about that location. That was crazy.
Yeah, it was very difficult to build a camp really in British Columbia. Carpenter did it, but they even made a road to that Outpost 31, and we didn't have the time to really build that camp so we had to build it in Toronto in a quarry. It was in March 2010, and we sort of hoped that it would be still cold enough that it would be completely snowed under. And
it was the warmest winter they've ever had.
Yeah, it was the winter of the Canadian Olympics. Where they had to sort of artificially snowed all these ski slopes.
Yeah, it was a shame. We were begging for it to, praying that it got, colder and colder, and it just got warmer.
Which was difficult for the actors sometimes because, if it's like 70 degrees Fahrenheit, with all these parkas on, and you have to play like minus 20 or something.
That cave that they just walked through was a real location that we found on the glacier, and it was extraordinary. It was one of those things where we thought, God, no one's going to believe that this is real. They're going to think that we built it. We built.
This is all studio.
And stage stuff. Ulrich Thompson, this fellow right here, he is a very talented actor, joined the production pretty late, and he was due in Toronto basically the day after the volcano in Iceland erupted, and all the airports in Northern Europe were closed. And Ulrich got into a car and drove 36 hours from Copenhagen to Madrid to fly out, and he is we owe him for that. This fellow here, Trond Espenheim, who is a Norwegian actor of note.
He
great guy.
I sort of modeled him around a little bit like around Dallas from Alien. The sort of the good guy, who cares about everybody.
The ship, which we felt we needed to see. I mean, it was it's present in the Carpenter movie, but it is such a staggering discovery. We felt like we needed to feature it in the film.
Yeah, we also, it's not completely the same as the JC ship.
No, it's different.
It's different, and we try to sort of modulate it more but it felt a little old-fashioned. We never see the whole thing very detailed, so I think we sort of get away with it. I think Sean Hayward, the production designer, did a really great job in designing it.
One of the decisions that we made for a variety of reasons, story and budget and schedules, we had in an early draft of the script, they went into the ship immediately.
Yes.
And they explored the ship.
That was even during production.
Yeah, we made that. Miles Dale, actually, who is our line producer and a great guy, I think was the first guy to say, "Hey, what if we?" I may be wrong, but I think he was the first.
Yeah,
what if we didn't go into the ship?
I was fighting it for a long time.
Yeah. You were fighting not going into the ship. Or,
yeah, I wanted to go into the ship.
Yeah, so did I. And he said, "What if we don't?" And I think where we came out on it was.
I think the reason was. It was not about the ship.
It was not about the ship.
It was about this creature in the ice, and that was what they're here for, and not go in some sort of tourist trip.
Yeah. And it was better story-wise,
yeah,
because and I hope I'm not ruining anything for you, listener, but we're going to go into the ship at some point, at the end of the movie, and to have gone into the ship here and then to go in it again and be sort of anticlimactic.
This is a scene we reshot.
Yeah.
It wasn't that we didn't shoot this scene, in the. It
was a new scene.
It was a new scene. Yeah. We felt like we needed a proper introduction of all our Norwegian characters.
I was really pleased with this scene, and the stuff. It was we, as you know, there are reshoots on additional photography on a lot of movies, but perhaps even most movies, and you hope that they're productive, and these were immensely productive. I think this was a very, very successful reshoot endeavor.
I think it really introduces Mary very nicely between the Norwegians, and like she's in charge, but she feels a little uncomfortable still, and you get the feeling that she's sort of hired by this Sander guy just because he needs somebody who doesn't say too much and just do his stuff.
Eric Olson, who is a great guy, great actor, who known mainly for his comedy work, although he's now, I think, he's on NCIS, I think, and doing quite well. But he was really important. Almost, I sort of saw him as kind of a Paul Reiser in Aliens type a little bit, where he's kind of funny and but also kind of scared and not as morally corrupt as that character.
Yeah, and we needed a sort of a counterpoint for all the sort of more sturdy scientific Norwegians.
I always liked this scene just because it's sort of.
I think you came up with this scene.
I may have. That's probably why I like it so much. But it's sort of a thoughtful scene.
Yeah, it's sort of introspect.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep you up.
It's just the gravity. I mean, that was not. It's you find an alien and a spaceship.
Yeah.
And you can never look at the world the same way. It's the equivalent of the proof of God or proof of absence of God.
Yeah.
This is our quarry with some good background work.
Yeah.
And we needed a dog because the Carpenter movie begins with a dog, and at the same time we didn't want to have a kennel full of dogs so that we could ape that great Carpenter sequence. There's a theme of and it very much in the design of the movie is this theme of trust, and it gets obviously it's heightened by the fact that one of these people and more than one are going to become aliens, but just sort of establishing these are a group of people who've discovered something, and they are very quickly not going to be able to trust one another.
This was special for me to shoot this scene, because as a real fan of John Carpenter's movie, building this set.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And it just standing there, and it was really difficult because there were no, blueprints of this set, so we just had to eye match it from the original movie, and just sort of estimate. Okay, this is like this big, and this is this big, and
yeah, it was modeled on a destroyed set in the Carpenter.
Yes,
with holes in the walls and
yeah, that gave me headaches. Those holes in the wall, because as you can see, they're not accounted for. To pick up all this, or sort of to clarify all the pieces of evidence in John Carpenter's movie, we try to be as accurate as possible. But there were a lot of holes in that camp.
Yeah.
But
the cinematographer Michel Abramowitz, who French, I think also Israeli, I think.
Yes, he is.
Israel via France, I think. He an interesting challenge. We really didn't want this movie to look like a slick, glossy.
No. We even use very old anamorphic lenses for this, basically.
I always like this scene.
Yeah, because you think it's going to pop out.
Yeah.
I was actually questioning if they would drill with a hand drill like that, But that's actually how they do it.
Yeah, and I imagine they're not going to have a drill press or something. But it's one of these stupid decisions that humans make all the time in their haste.
Yeah. I think also, Ulrich Thomson's character, Sander Halvorsen, was sort of a little bit based on the scientist in the Howard Hawks movie. The sort of obsessed, hubris-driven.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of a tribute to that movie.
Also, a woman being the voice of
reason.
And generally, it's sort of true. At least at my house, it's.
What do you mean?
She's the voice of reason, and I'm the impulsive. Let's cut this thing open.
Right.
Do it.
Yeah.
And this was again, a somewhat euphoric. Wow, we found an alien. This is great. And and before things.
The funny thing about this, I knew that this scene needed something extra than was written. in pre-production, and the guy who plays Olaf, Jan Gunnar, he had a guitar with him, a little guitar, and I said like, so what was a famous song in the 80s? You know, in the beginning of the 80s in Norway, and they came up with that horrible song, which I you know, from the start liked completely.
We love it
because it's from 1982. It's called the Euro Song Festival.
Yeah, it was like a contest or something.
It's a contest. It's like a European amateur contest, and then you can win, and it's like big on TV, and so it's a famous Norwegian song, and it's from 1982, and I think the song is about the poor people in Lapland. Lapland is a part of Norway.
It's like a really shitty
tribe.
part. Yeah,
it's like a tribe.
By the way, they're very rich, the Norwegians, right?
They are, yes.
They have a lot of oil.
They're not part of the European Union because they don't want to share it. This they're not going to like.
Bringing home an alien instead of core samples.
Here it is. I really love it. I find myself singing it sometimes in my car.
Yeah.
They were a fun bunch. I mean, it was really a...
Yeah, there were no egos.
No.
Everybody got along very well. As you said, they all knew each other, you know, from other movies.
But unlike, you know, Hollywood, where people know each other from other movies and hate each other from other movies, they all liked each other.
Yeah, I was sometimes worried because then they had like a little drink party after, you know.
Sometimes. Like every day.
Yeah, like, you know, the Scandinavians are famous for, you know, getting rid of the cold by alcohol. So this was also a reshoot scene to emphasize a little bit that Griggs, you know, was separated from the group, and to hint that maybe he could be affected.
Yeah, it's a bit of a misdirect, or it actually isn't.
No, it isn't a misdirect. It's just we had it in the original version. It was too vague.
Yeah.
That he could be, you know, because he's outside now. You know, they're still singing, and then Jameson goes to the cold storage room. So you sort of might think that he's the only one outside. I mean, we actually see, you know, Griggs responding to the screaming of the.
We thought a lot about the creature and how it came to us, and
yes, the backstory of the creature.
Yeah, and whether it comes through in the movie or not, we think it does. But we thought a lot about, okay, is this creature, for example, the original pilot of this craft, or did they pick it up somewhere and it overtook them and they crash landed, and the creature, you know, what is the creature's true form? Is it this creature in the ice?
No, it isn't.
Yeah, that's what I think so too.
I mean, I think that, you know, the thing is like a virus or a parasite. You know, it doesn't have a true original form.
True form.
No,
it's you know, it's microscopic.
Yes.
Perhaps.
So this is already a victim. You know, and we. You know, even with the exploration of the ship, we sort of discussed, like, should we tell almost like a Norwegian story inside the spaceship? Like, you know, Yeah,
is that what? In fact, I feel like there was a moment in the script where
we contemplated it.
Yeah, the interior was a crime scene.
Yes,
you know,
that the spaceship was actually sort of a biolab of that creature, and in that biolab, the thing was captured in a pod, and just basically during a trip escaped, killed everybody, and then the ship crashed. That was sort of how we started.
There's a line in that scene we shot from Eric Olsen where he speculates, wonders aloud. Well, so wait, let me get this straight. This thing flies here, and then without checking the temperature outside,
just go wandering around,
exits the ship and freezes to death. And it is a good question, and the question is answered when they realize that, wow, it's just been waiting for somebody to find it.
Yeah, I think it just sort of woke up, you know, climbed out of the ship, saw all this freezing stuff, and just thought, I'm going to freeze myself.
I like this moment too, and this is like, uh-oh, this is a problem.
Groups of 2 and 3.
Yeah, I shot 2 versions of this.
Yeah, when there was, we've tried it. I remember a version with no dialogue.
Yes,
you know,
and much more dialogue.
And much more dialogue, and I think.
But it felt like the more silent, the sort of the better.
Yeah.
Sort of grasping the reality at that point.
The gravity of we're going to search for this monster.
If you would rewind to the previous shot in the wide shot, you would see on the left side the two remaining buildings in the John Carpenter movie. So it was sort of U-shaped, what we sort of designed, and the left leg of the camp was basically what was the remainder of the camp, the Norwegian camp.
It had burned. And in case you wondered why it burned, you're gonna see in this movie.
So you see left, you see a little bit of the remainders of JC's camp.
Sean Hayworth, the production designer who had been an art director on Avatar before coming to us, did an unbelievable job. It was a hard. All movies are hard. You never have enough time, and you never have enough money, and so what you end up with is generally the result of every best effort. In this case, a Herculean effort to build this set, and he and his team did a great job. Patrick Bannister, who was his art director, right. They did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe my fourth movie in Toronto, and I love it.
Really?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, if you can't make movies at home, it's the next best place for me.
So this was shot in the studio, in a very, we ran out of spaces in Toronto. So this was a really confined little place. And I could basically shoot only like 2 angles because it was just so small.
Yeah, small. It was like a mini set.
Yeah, it was a mini set. But it looks really,
out.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
We talked a lot about the sound that this creature would make, and what there was one moment where it was going to be a kind of a muted dog thing, like it had already absorbed the dog, and then it was sort of using the dog's
mimicking the dog. Yeah. That didn't completely work for me.
It just sounded like a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, we made him sort of a little bit vulnerable sounding, like to lure the Norwegians in, which I think was nice. This is all practical effects from ADI.
Hopefully, if you ever were grabbed by an alien and your friend is there, he does a little bit more than
it's scary.
Yeah, he was scared. He was scared. It was traumatizing, but he really froze.
Yeah. I think in the beginning in the real beginning, it was the dog captured by the alien. One of our first scripts had dogs being captured, but then we didn't feel like it was right because it was too much the same.
Too Carpenter.
Yeah.
I was talking to John about, he hasn't seen this movie yet, but I was talking about it versus his movie. Mm-hmm. And I said, look, we did, this is some great ADI practical work. We did a fair amount of practical. We also did a lot of CG because, in this day and age, you're never going to have the time that you need to, we're slaves to release schedules at every studio. John had a year to prep.
Yeah, Rob Bottin had a year.
Yeah, they had a year. John and Rob had a year to build these things. We had, you don't even know you're making the movie until 3 months before you start shooting. Yeah. And if you're lucky, and that's
because they built whole Outpost 31 in the fall or in the summer.
Yeah, and then they came back.
And then they came back in in the winter.
And the whole time Rob was in his shop building creatures.
Yeah, that was a shame that we had, at some points we had to replace it. But, and it's not because of ADI didn't do a good job, but we didn't just have enough time.
Yeah, and you were expecting some real articulation from puppets, and at some point it's hard. I mean, even Guillermo del Toro, who's a huge practical guy, I think Pacific Rim, his new film, is all CG.
Yeah.
To small children.
I just have to say that, Christopher played, Jonah's character, that he came in with that beard.
Yeah, it's so great. He's
wasn't
got
like,
such a great face.
That was like the way he looked.
Yeah, no, that was not. We didn't do that.
No.
we just stopped him from shaving.
Now, I know I'm talking about the creature.
The funny thing is that all the North European countries, they speak really good English.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any difficulties, communicating with them because it was a different language or.
Ulrich's English is better than mine. And
I think he studied in England.
Yeah, he probably did. And Trond, who had a lot, you realize, Trond, who plays Edvard, how many lines he had in English, and he was probably the least comfortable among the Norwegians speaking English.
Yeah.
And he had the most to do, and he did great.
Yeah.
Take him to the military hospital.
So this is the threat comes in for Sander that he's going to lose his
I like this
discovery.
scene because he's sort of pushing his agenda, despite somebody just being sort of horribly murdered.
Yeah, he's a scientist.
Yeah.
And the use of, again, subtitles, using Norwegian, there was obviously the authenticity was one issue, but also there was this convenient way for characters to communicate where Kate and Carter and the non-Norwegian speaking characters don't know what they're talking about, and it comes in handy later. This is I love the work they did.
Yeah.
This is an ADI home run here with this creature, the autopsy.
He was scary. The interesting thing is that this room is basically in the middle of the radio room where Colin kills himself, slitting his throat, and the cold storage room.
Yeah, we repurposed some of these rooms, or did we? No, actually, we had a pretty big set.
This was all one big continuous set. So you could really walk from the radio room to this room, and it's funny because doing the research about the layout of the Norwegian camp is there was this site, or there's still this site called outpost31.com, and people, meticulously had recreated in diagrams how the layout of so I actually used that. I checked it, of course, with JC's movie, but it was completely accurate.
It's very accurate.
So they did a great job.
That's a lot of free time on your hands if you're doing that. But, I've spent a lot of time there.
His face is encased in some type of...
So this was we wanted to take the biology of the creature to another level. We talked a lot about Alien while we were making this movie, and acknowledging the brilliance of Alien. But, biology is authenticity, and given that we have, whereas the Carpenter movie had one character who had, and maybe two, who had the scientific background to make proclamations about its biology and purpose. We have a bunch of scientists who, this is what they do.
Yeah. Also, this, constructing the movie was, how much do we have to explain? Because you have all these people who have seen the JC's movie.
Yeah, and they're lingering questions.
But, because for them it's all clear, how it operates, how it clones. But for all those people who haven't seen that movie, we had to explain it properly.
Yeah.
So that was always I think in the reshoot we sort of realized, that we didn't explain too much because we sort of assumed that everybody would know already. And then the studio said, well, you have to explain a little bit more clear. Okay, here we're getting to the first piece of evidence.
Yeah, this was something that we could have. There were moments when it was out and then it was back in. I always loved this. I always loved it.
No, but I think at some point, I think it came from the fact that we didn't want to do a blood testing scene, although it's in the original Who Goes There novel of Campbell. We couldn't do that, so we had to find a sort of device that would give Kate some sort of clue how to sort of separate the humans from the non-humans. and not using the blood testing scene. So I think very early on we came up with this. It is not possible to replicate inorganic material.
Yeah, and it really served us. And I think,
I think it was really good because it was something new.
Yeah.
It was not something like we've seen in the other movies.
I believe it was Heiser.
No, it was me.
Who came up with the teeth? You?
Yeah.
God, that's good. The teeth is great.
Yeah.
Matthijs and I spent untold hours in the conference room in my office talking this through, and then we go outside and smoke.
Yeah.
And then I'd come home and my girlfriend would be mad at me.
Yeah.
You can't say so. And but we really talked this stuff through, which is fun, but also very labor intensive.
Yeah.
But as Kate's building a case that this is, that we don't have a handle on this, these are sort of key moments.
Yeah, I think also we constructed it a little bit more like a thriller, in a sense that they were not blue-collar workers, just stationed in a camp, but they were like, fresh scientists, which sort of led to this sort of a little bit more of a thriller aspect of what's happening.
Really good score work by Marco Beltrami. Mm-hmm. Not in this scene, but there's no music here. But
yeah, that was also a challenge, because Morricone's music is so iconic.
Really good.
And very early on, we decided not to use his music too much, just basically the heartbeat. And I came up with. Or just asked him that I said to him, I really like movies from the 70s and 80s, where you really have themes. So we came up with sort of, Kate's theme and the monster theme, like to do it a little bit like in the old-fashioned way. And I think he did a very good job.
So this is the misdirect here that. This virus is leaving in the form of Olaf. And if it gets to McMurdo, it's the beginning of big problems for mankind. So the stakes in this movie, like the Carpenter movie, are pretty clear.
Yeah, so the question here, when she finds these fillings, whose fillings are they? And it could be, in my mind, it was always Juliet at this point. Because there's a scene you have seen before where Griggs sort of looks at Juliet and she walks away, and basically she walks to the toilet because she's sick. And this is the bathroom, so probably, this is...
It's like any good thriller, the information changes. At the moment, you're thinking, oh, it's the guy that's leaving.
Yes.
Those are his teeth. And then once it's revealed that it wasn't him, it begins a new course of investigation. Particularly when that blood gets cleaned up.
Yeah.
If it were just Olaf and those were his teeth, then the blood would still be there for everyone to see.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your sort of camera system and the choice you made?
Well, it was obvious from the start to shoot it anamorphic and not digital, or even 3D or something. But it was never a question. I think even the lighting, I try to sort of emulate a little bit that 80s feel.
Yeah.
So, and it's very technical, but using a bit more hard light instead of all these soft lights, In the 70s and 80s, they usually had hard lights and hard shadows. So we experimented with that.
And with all these sort of cameras, these digital camera systems.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah. We're coming up on our first transformation, which which is always a...
That was funny because we discussed... should we ever see Griggs transforming? At some point, we were just deliberating, like, is it better not to see it? To make the mystery, to stay really in Kate's perspective. Because now we see something that the audience sees something that Kate doesn't see.
She doesn't see. It's actually given that we invested so much in Olaf being the thing, right down to him sort of trembling here, and it seemed like we had to pay that off.
Yeah. I think we did Grigg's splitting face here as a sort of setup for the teeth checking scene later. That it was sort of possible that heads could split open.
Yep.
So when Kate has to check all these scenes, all these faces, and
then it could just exactly.
It could just happen in front of her.
Time. Each guy is a time bomb.
Yeah. This was for me challenging in the sense that it has to crash. It has to crash far away, but close enough for them to return the same day.
Yeah.
And not to be dead.
But there's a great inherent mystery in that these guys survived a helicopter crash, and
it could be proven evidence
that they're not human.
That they're not human. This is my little tribute to Windows in JC's movie. It's like I sort of replicate that shot when he's calling for Outpost 31.
And this is again, Jonathan, who a English actor but lives in Canada, and Jonathan Walker, and he had a baby, I think, either days before we started shooting or while we were shooting.
Yeah.
Radio's dead. He's fucking dead.
Yeah, I like this scene. It's sort of now it starts to settle in for the whole camp that something is really wrong.
One of the advantages to setting the movie in the period that we set the movie is communications have changed. It's cell phones and satellite phones and the internet have sort of, they haven't ruined horror movies, but they've challenged them. It's like, okay, how many ways can we come up with? Well, a cell phone's not working, or the internet's down. It's just here it was just we got a radio and we can't get anybody, which ties into the Carpenter movie because Windows says I haven't been able to raise anyone on this for 2 weeks.
This is some nice insight is that Ulrich actually talks Danish to Trond, and Trond responds in Norwegian, which I thought was a huge problem because they wouldn't understand each other. But in fact, when Norwegians and Danish people talk, they speak their own languages and they understand each other.
Because no one can leave this camp until we know more about what's going on here.
I make decisions about this camp.
I know, Edward, but
Why did you flag down that helicopter?
It seems everyone in Scandinavia, they collectively hate the Swedes. And Jesper, who's
from Image Engine,
and who's a great guy and did some great work on this movie, he was always sort of defending
he was
Swedish pride.
He was very outspoken about the superiority of the Swedes.
Yeah, it was really funny.
I think they sort of grabbed him at some point, all the Norwegians, and just
pummeled him.
Yeah,
he, Sweden is sort of the big brother on the block in that I think they're the biggest country in the.
They wouldn't agree, the Norwegians.
No, that's for sure.
replicated a person.
Okay, Kate. Okay, Kate. This is not the time to be yelling fire. Let's stop. Gather our thoughts.
Sean Hayward and I end the discussion about, the look of the camp inside, and it had to be different than JC's movie, but in the same time, it had to be sort of similar. The interesting fact about Antarctica is that nothing grows there. So everything is imported. So any prop you would see has flown in by plane is imported. So
there's no wood.
There's no wood.
Yeah.
It's and we brought all these props from Norway. From cigarettes to cans. If you look closely in the kitchen, you see all these Norwegian products.
And pickled herrings.
Yeah.
And strange shit that they. The other thing that's one of these inaccuracies that has existed in movies forever that we sort of had to preserve, but in reality wouldn't be the case, is their breath. You cannot have condensation in the breath without moisture, and there's very little, if no moisture in Antarctica, in the air. And so no matter how cold it is, you wouldn't see the breath, but people needed it to show them that it was cold.
Yeah, you have to see the cold.
It's become sort of a signifier of, wow, it's freezing, because you can see your breath.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should be speaking about this.
I like this mislead that she's sort of pointing it at
You were saying
at Colin at this point.
about
And the design of the movie is that everyone she comes to trust, eventually she can't trust.
Yeah.
And beginning obviously with Sander in the beginning, and then Eric Olsen, his character, sort of lets her down, and now Juliet is
basically the only one she can trust.
Yeah, but not for long. Poor Colin, accused.
Yeah. I think Juliet was maybe the first creature we designed with ADI.
Yeah.
He's leaving with Edward.
I thought it as, I think instinctively, that she being a woman, that it has to sort of opened up out of her stomach. Mm-hmm. Sort of an explosion of violence.
What are you saying about
I don't know.
how a woman can carry something in her belly that will destroy your life? Is that what you're
Maybe.
Change your life inexorably?
What am I looking for?
I think I said it before,
3 and 4.
but the whole idea about these transformations was that the person who is hosting the thing is, during the transformation or the end of the transformation is always some sort of a passenger of this creature.
Yeah.
So we would hear
that shot sells it.
She's like sort of victimized, and I think I liked the idea of her sort of still being aware. So
that she's riding this. Yeah,
she's riding this huge parasite, but she is not brain dead. She sort of is still able to witness it, but not able to control it anymore.
And it helps sell the idea that you could be the thing and not necessarily know it.
Yeah, not know it. Yeah, that was funny shooting that.
Now this is Jørgen
Langhalle,
who was a successful actor in Norway, and as the only truly non-English speaking member of the crew, not the cast, because he does speak English, but in the film, we were able to establish this great non-speaking bond between he and Kate.
It was sort of funny to have an alliance between a non-speaking big bear-like Norwegian and Mary, sort of like that he senses without even exactly hearing what she says, but just seeing that she's probably the smartest person in the camp, and for his own survival, it would be the best to trust her.
It's the only relationship, I think, that actually
they're
holds true till the end in a way. They trust each other all the way through.
And it was a logical choice because they are the only survivors in this movie. I mean, he gets shot in the next movie. And casting him was he had to look like the Norwegian guy in JC movie. I love Jonas's eyes.
Yeah, it's great.
I think he had a bit of a minor part actually, but during
he got bigger. Right.
I sort of actually every time I shot something with him, I was like, oh, I really like this guy. Yeah, that's I think my favorite line. We actually shot a whole scene of Carl dying.
Yeah, that's right.
That after the kitchen scene, they would sort of realize, like, oh my shit, what's happened to Carl? And they would follow the sort of blood trails into the hallway and seeing Carl sort of half transformed. For some reason, that after the sort of big outburst of Juliet,
Seemed sort of anticlimactic.
Yeah, it didn't completely work. It was not building up to a higher level, but it sort of toned down, and it didn't completely work. And it was again a creature being burned. It was it felt a little bit repetitive.
It also felt like a Bennings ripoff. You know,
it was a Bennings ripoff. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So this is the point in the movie where the rules have been established and the stakes are clear, and you know, it's an important place to get to, and I think we got there in a great way. You've got the info, and they're all looking at one another thinking, God, it could be any of us, and we have an obligation to destroy this thing, and it's also she's sort of taken charge.
Finally. Yeah. I mean, Juliet was basically the proof that she was right. And I sort of like stories where, you know, the lead really has to sort of climb up to, you know, the moment where they should be, but in the beginning they haven't got the power yet, or the circumstances are not right to rise to that occasion. So
it's a very relatable idea where everybody's an idiot except for me, and no one's listening, and now they're going to listen.
Yeah,
there's a fantasy to that.
Yeah.
But really, this movie is a nightmare. You know, you're stuck in this place with a hidden monster.
Yeah, and you can't leave.
And you can't leave.
Is that it?
Ja, klart.
No more vehicles?
I like this scene because it sort of strengthens the bond between Lars and Kate.
It also, you know, on a smaller note, it establishes the hand grenades, which...
Yeah, we had to establish that.
Which are in the, you know, what are they doing with, you know, thermite grenades? But, you know, it's you'd have them for geological purposes, but here he is trusting her with this weapon.
I think there was some debate about the look of the hand grenades here, that they looked like sort of Red Bull cans.
Although I think they match.
No, they actually
ones,
they match Carpenter's, and they're accurate. But you know,
my hand grenades look nothing like that. I have the pineapple ones favored by American GIs in World War II.
Yeah.
Is everything all right?
Yeah, and basically, in my opinion, I mean, Edward has already turned here, and he sort of senses something is cooking, and just checking them out.
And it's, well, you know, it's again in when you know that he's the thing, you experience the movie differently. You know, right now you're thinking, okay, he's wondering what these two are up to.
I think for me, one of the sort of unresolved questions is, if you're the thing, let's say Edward is the thing, and now Carter and Jameson arrive, let's say they are the thing, would he know if they are the thing?
I think so.
Would he sort of has a sixth sense to figure that out?
I think so.
And if that's true, he knows that they're human at that point, and they could be a threat to him.
I think they're a threat, but they're also another place to hide. But I think it works well that he is in the let's burn them camp.
The Americans.
I like this score here as well.
Yeah, you hear the sort of the monster theme. We also did a lot of experimenting with making music with just wind effect sounds.
All right, we can just knock them up.
You know, it's very hard to pinpoint where it exactly is, but it sort of gives you an overall feel of uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
Please.
Just one of those, you know, flamethrowers were sort of that one thing that connect. You know, I've always sort of loved them. You know, it's the toy that I wish that I had to be able to throw fire from 40 feet away onto anything I choose to destroy. Sort of a fun fantasy weapon.
Yeah, they don't have flamethrowers in Antarctica.
No.
I did some checking.
No, they generally, I mean,
no guns and flamethrowers.
They try to limit flamethrowers anywhere they can. But you could make one. You can make
one. Yeah. That scene, the scene just before you saw it was a little longer.
I like it much more without. We
Yeah.
had an actual. There was dialogue there, and
Yeah.
it's just we accomplished more with the looks between the two.
We trimmed that.
Locking us up.
But what I really admire about the movie is that the energy really changes. You know, where now we're in a pretty dire
Yes,
situation.
I love his look here.
Yeah.
Look, it's like he's a frightened animal.
And she can control
He's
him.
sort of her bodyguard at this point.
He is. He is.
It's sort of a real sweet relationship.
We saw in that chopper.
For all I know, he could be one of those things.
The other question is like, and it's overthinking, but basically she knows at this point that he's not the thing because she can see that he's still wearing this earring. He has his earring in his ear at this point. But
Not for you right now.
but letting them out of this hut would create so much chaos.
Yeah,
She has to contain it.
She's protecting them as
Yes,
much as she's
yes.
protecting it. But you know, remember we had a beat between them where he said, "How do you know I'm not the thing?" And she
Right.
says, "I just a hunch."
Yeah, yeah.
But I
it-
think that comes across without us without
Well,
them
we
saying
sort
it.
of eliminated the threat of them being the thing at that point.
Yeah.
So that's why we killed it. That's real fire.
And the movie, like a good horror movie, good thrillers, each avenue that's open closes. You know, it's like, oh, we've got this test that's gonna save us, and then all of a sudden the test is destroyed.
Yeah.
You know, or we've got a helicopter that's gonna take us out of here, and the helicopter's destroyed. You know,
Yeah.
it's sort of each window is slammed shut.
Actually, I shot this scene with stand-ins.
Remember how long it was?
Body doubles with beards and stuff. But Christopher and Stieg, wanted to do it themselves, and it looks good.
This happened. Well, it was no accident. You
I like this.
Yeah.
were in there with it. You were the last one.
I mean, Eric also looks really nicely
Yeah, he's
bad.
tired.
It's-
He's tired.
yeah.
I was the one working on the test. I left for 2 minutes. You just don't want us to know the truth, do you?
But I also really admired in Mary that she had no problem in looking, not horrible because she's pretty.
Yeah, she's
but,
really beautiful.
She hasn't, in the movie now, she hasn't slept for 2 days basically, or
Yeah.
like 1.5 day, and with shooting it with no makeup, and it really made it far more believable.
I can safely say that I haven't liked a group of people on a movie as much as this group in a long time, maybe ever. You know, there's always an asshole somewhere, and on this movie, everybody was great.
Tell him to open his mouth.
Now, this was something that I believe in very early conversations. I think right around when Eric Heiser got involved, you came up with this teeth idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and we sort of felt that this is our blood test.
Yeah, and it subverts. It's the whereas we have scientists and not blue collar weather station guys. They come up with a very rudimentary test here, as opposed to sort of a more sophisticated blood. Though that wasn't really sophisticated.
I think to come up with the destruction of the creature, which sort of ruined the blood test scene. They had no way. Probably if they had if it wasn't destroyed, they would come up with the blood test scene.
Yeah.
And when it's destroyed, she sort of comes up with a sort of a second best solution.
Yep.
Which divides people impossible, things and people who are not infected. It doesn't say who is the thing yet.
A way to eliminate some of us.
So I'm gonna get killed because I floss.
Nobody's getting killed.
You know a little bit about, and maybe you don't see it, but the backstory is that of Adam and Kate is that they went to college together. And in my mind, he was probably always the dorky boy who was always in love with her.
Yep.
And she just liked him. So this scene, the scene before, where he betrays her, doesn't back her up. This is basically, his punishment for that.
Just go stand over there.
The funny thing about this scene is I can't remember directing this scene.
You can't?
No.
Is this where Jorgen passed out?
No.
No, that was in the search scene.
Yeah.
You know, it was warm, and you know, and here we're on a stage, obviously, and everybody's wearing, you know, they're bundled up, and so it wasn't always comfortable for the actors.
Yeah, but I think this was so far in the process that everybody understood their roles so good that I hardly directed the scene.
Yeah, it's good performance.
Yeah, it's really good. Everybody's so on the spot.
Porcelain fillings? Or clean teeth?
It's bloody absurd.
Yeah, I love Lars in this one.
So you're thinking here that he's gonna break open?
Yeah, and I love because you are, as a fan, you think, okay, it's the blood test scene, and somebody will pop open. But actually, we don't, which is actually better.
This is wrong.
Yeah, I think this is my favorite scene of the movie.
Yeah. And Edward's very convincing. You know.
But you know, like
Jonas.
this tiny flashlight is your weapon.
Yeah.
I love that. And also, for me, you know, when we constructed this scene, is you had like this sort of sophisticated scientist, and now they are sort of
reduced to
sort
and
of
stones.
Animal checking.
Yeah.
Like you go to the left and you go to the right.
And you know, in retrospect, you know, she's right. She's got, you know,
That's the way to do it at this point.
She figured it out. But you know, circumstances will conspire.
I wonder if you see the movie for the first time, who do you think is the thing at this point? What is leading? Is it like Colin, or is it Adam, or is it Edward or Sander?
You know, it could be anyone. You know, I think it's. You don't assume that she's right necessarily. And this is an interior. This is the quarry.
Yeah, we shot this in the quarry.
With some fans blowing around.
Yeah.
We're all gonna have some rare respiratory illness someday for all that, whatever that shit was that was flying around.
What I like about this scene is that Jonas really doesn't want to do this.
No.
He even refused the gun.
Yeah.
We did it.
Nope.
We did it from tactical reasons because you know Jameson needs the gun at the end.
Yeah.
So, but it sort of fitted his character, you know, sort of like this pacifist.
A coward.
No,
you know, he's
yeah,
sort of a coward.
There's something sweet about him.
Yeah.
He doesn't, you know, the gun doesn't belong to him. There's a lot of CGI snow, and I think it's really well done.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
Hard to do.
It's really hard to do, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, also the trick was, in constructing it, is that not to burn everybody.
Yeah, we had to come up with. Well,
like,
it's true of the creature and how the creature manifests itself. We can't have the same beat over and over again, and also how they die. You know, you have a bunch of people burning. It becomes repetitive.
Yeah, I lost track, but I think we are killing like 11 people.
Yeah, at least. I mean, at least.
And I think from that notion came blowing up Peter, I think.
Yeah.
Where are they? Where are the rest?
They attacked him. They got lost. They are lost.
Yeah, I like this part of the movie.
Yeah.
Is that
That's really, now it's really moving, and the panic and terror set in, and
yeah, in my opinion, always Kate's decision to send Lars out was her biggest mistake. He was like, because Peter basically, gives up at this point.
yeah.
You know, he
Peter was on the fence to begin with.
Yeah,
But now they're all united against, that's the enemy.
that's the enemy, right? I think you came up with this Mexican standoff.
Yeah, I kind of wanted there to be a. No, I always love the idea of someone getting killed by accident.
Right.
Someone who doesn't have to die, who isn't revealed to be a creature.
Yeah, and killed by bullets.
And a change that we made that really served us was Edward saying, "Burn them."
Yeah.
Because he's not, he's looking to eliminate humans.
Just want to shake my friend, okay?
Yeah, in my opinion, he does this because he wants to get the flamethrower.
That's what I think. He's going to just burn them.
Yeah, or 2 flamethrowers is too much.
Yeah.
In American hands. So, and then
that changes things.
So bye, Peter. If he wasn't dead already.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was like the first step of the burning of the camp.
Yeah.
As of sort of the cold sort of sneaking in now.
Mm-hmm.
That was all practical, of course. The whole idea of, talking about the creatures is, for me, in John Carpenter's movie, one of the most astonishing moments, like when I was 17 and saw that movie, was the Norris's spider head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So,
it even
paying tribute almost to that feeling of John Carpenter's movie. So what could we do with that sort of separating body parts and they are moving on or changing? Sort of logically, we came to the, losing his limbs.
And it elicits the same response, which is what really characterized that sequence in the Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
Is, you got to be fucking kidding me, which is exactly what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And when that head walks away, and it's just like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, it's a really funny scene, actually. But we haven't established that logic, that it could separate.
Yeah.
But I carrying somebody and then, dislodging his arm, and it becomes...
That's pretty good.
And it had to be Jonas.
Yeah. he's made it long enough. We're in the semifinals here, and he's going to get...
So Colin escapes, which you barely see, but that's the only shot we had of him. The challenging thing about this scene was, for me, and you're probably not questioning it, why are they staying in the room?
Yeah.
If it was me, I would just run away, which is not smart.
It's shock, you believe that they're sort of frozen in terror.
Yeah, and he goes for it, and that's what's happening if you're trying to flee.
It's fun though, it's a sort of the everything goes to shit scene.
Yeah.
You've got 2 monsters in the room.
Yeah. And it gets rid of a lot of people.
Yeah. We toyed with taking this out, and I'm glad we didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. We had to give Jameson a reason to
stand and fire.
Yeah, although probably he would know that it wouldn't hurt the thing shooting at it. Yeah.
The instinct to protect his friend, and
yeah.
It also,
I love this shot.
Yeah, I do too. And that is great.
This is also really well done by Image Engine.
Yeah.
We did this all practical, but we felt that we hadn't we couldn't do too much with the practical stuff.
It's pretty great.
We actually, because you see an arm taking off, this is also good. We originally planned to have an arm leaving and a leg, and the leg would attack
Ulrich.
Ulrich, yeah. Sander character. That's
Peter burning.
Peter still burning.
And this is the beginning of the fire that claims the camp, although...
Yeah. You were always struggling a little bit with the amount of fire.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, even I stand too close to one of those fire pits, on the patio, and it's too hot for me. And I just, I like that eye, the work they did with his eye.
Yeah. This was a puppet, an ADI puppet.
And, this is sort of Mary's transformation is complete. Now she's
now in charge.
She's a killer.
She's like physically in charge as well.
Yeah, that fire behind her always bothered me. We've spent a lot of time talking about that.
Yeah.
I gave up. And we're coming into I think my favorite part of the film, which is the sort of bug hunt through the camp.
By Jameson. So now there are 4 people left.
Not including Lars.
Not including Lars. Yeah, 5 people left. And so Colin is somewhere, and
Ulrich and Sander.
Sander.
Are you?
Yeah.
Did we ever? Was this always the logical choice of how we would plant the axe in the door?
Yeah, I mean, we always had we were going to have, I think they were going to try to break through that locked radio room at some point. But I like,
on the right side, you see blood from Carl.
Yes,
that's a little hallway where Carl gets, and they never cleaned it.
Why would they?
So actually, this was a longer scene, and we changed it during the edit. Actually, that there was a much bigger scene where he was attacked by this leg.
That's right.
It felt a little repetitive because the arm is, with the action door is the arm, and there were too many limbs attacking people.
And wasn't there a version where we weren't going to show him get attacked at all and just kind of show him get,
Yeah, we were thinking about that.
I can't remember if that was part of the was this part of the reshoot here? No.
No, but we just reused those shots, and him being devoured by the split face creature.
Yeah.
So this is the sort of the reverse angle of McReady and Doc approaching the door in John Carpenter's movie.
Yeah.
So they're coming from this point. That's the door. Yeah, we actually we shot the whole Colin suicide scene, slitting his throat. We shot that.
Yeah, we did.
And it was taking place after this shot.
Yeah, we went because Colin's on the other side of that door.
Yeah, Colin's, and he feels like there's these raving lunatics behind the door. But to justify that he would kill himself, and that's a tricky thing. It took almost 6 minutes to explain it.
Yeah.
To sort of mentally feel that he was up at that point, and Jonathan did a really great job.
Yeah. He's good. His performance is good, but I think also it
slowed everything down, and it became sort of the hero scene of the movie.
Yeah.
And the movie is about those 2 guys, finding this creature, and it was another creature because I had it sort of the logic was that the door was burning on one side and the creature was sort of closing in on the other side, and he had no choice than to kill himself. That was the idea. But it sort of felt like he's the hero of the movie.
Yep.
And it sort of didn't feel right for that matter. I like that shot through the window.
Yeah, I love the sequence here, this whole thing. There's the monster, and this is my favorite.
I like how Joel just sort of bails out there.
Yeah, he just runs.
So this is the kitchen. It's the first time we see the kitchen, actually.
No, they burn Julie out of the kitchen.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Sure.
But it's the first time we see this angle of the kitchen.
Yeah.
And it reminded me there's a scene in A Tale of Two Sisters, where the monster comes in, you can see it behind, just catch sort of glimpses of it. And I like the way that you shot this, where there was that moment where we went we saw the monster in the hallway, and I just thought it was less effective.
Yeah, we deleted
I
that.
like this. Like, there's a little bit of the monster.
Yeah, it's in the extra DVDs.
Is it really?
Yeah, it would be just actually to show.
Yeah, I like
it's
that. That's
the best shot.
That's my favorite. It's just like, oh Jesus, I don't really want to see.
I like how he sort of sniffs. His head goes up in the air and just sort of sniffs him out. And holding a knife doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like you may as well be holding up a flower.
Yeah. You were debating, and I did about this shot.
Yeah, I like it. I grew to really like it. I just think that
we gave it away too early or something.
Well, I think that it's just I like point of view, which is this is a great point of view shot.
Yeah.
The scene plays entirely in Joel's point of view, including look at the focus there. It's except for that one shot. So now it's like this is Joel.
Yeah.
We're with him, which I just generally prefer in horror. I remember there was a movie that I saw recently that was a successful movie, but there were so many shots in it that were for the benefit of the camera. Like, for example, you'd be looking at the victim, and then all of a sudden the killer would pop up for a second behind him and then duck away. And it's like, who's that for?
Yeah. This we shot very early in the...
I like this.
In the shooting, in the schedule.
And that's the two-headed monster that they pull back, they bring back to Outpost 31.
You know what? Nobody knows, but it's such a puzzle to construct the camp that this creature would be in some sort of the same position as McGreedy and...
when they find it.
Yeah. So, the construction of the kitchen... had to be in the exact position that it would just sort of land there.
Run through the wall and land right there. And there goes Sander.
Sander.
Wait. So what? It'll freeze out there.
If it doesn't?
One thing that I would have liked to have done is have a creature turn back into a human to show that they can do that, which is kind of what Sander does.
Right.
But, just to show that transformation as, the monster is becoming a human again, which I don't think it happens in the Carpenter movie either.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I kept saying to Michelle, the DP, it's like, it has to be dark. There's no light.
It's got to be not movie dark. It's got to be real dark.
Yeah, I sort of, and he was scared to death because I kept pushing him. No, less. Yeah, so she knows at this point.
She sees it.
Yeah. She sees that he's still a thing.
There was a line that we were talking over a second ago where she said, if this gets out, millions of people will die.
Yeah.
And I never really wanted it in the movie. I understand why, the studio, who were very gracious all along, and contributive and supportive, but it was important to them that we clearly state the stakes.
Yeah.
And, for me, it was clear enough. But I think it'll probably end up serving us, that, oh, wow, we better kill this thing or a lot of people are going to get killed.
Yeah.
Because why else would you follow it into its spaceship, which is just, a pretty crazy idea. This is all sort of well paced at this point. We'd had a bit in earlier where they had tried to open it and had been unable to open it.
Yeah, when they arrive at the spaceship, we shot that they walked all the way to the hatch and had a sort of discussion about not able to open the hatch and sort of justify for us why they didn't go in.
Inside,
yeah. But again, it felt more about the spaceship and not about the creature. This was tricky to shoot because they're actually running over some green floor.
Yeah.
But they had to sort of pretend
they're hopping over stuff.
Pretending to do the steps.
Yeah.
Not knowing exactly how big those lures would be.
And here's where we prove once and for all that boys are faster than girls.
She has a heavier coat.
Just shorter legs.
Oh, he's even wearing the flamethrower.
I know. He still beat her.
Yeah, we also shot more stuff in the spaceship, actually. A longer, but it didn't add much. We had to explain here that the cave starts collapsing because of the trembling of the ship. It's one of my favorite shots as well.
Yeah. She's like a 40s movie star, she looks so beautiful. She photographs so well. You can't take a bad picture of her. We tried.
The amazing thing about Mary, is that I think the most takes I shot of Mary is like 5.
Yeah.
It was usually like 3 takes, and I would explain the scene, and then she would nail it in one take, which is always like, all right, we have that version, and which was great because then you're not trying to accomplish one version doing all these takes, but she sort of nailed it straight away, and then even had the ability to give me a different version.
Talk about we really struggled about what would be. We've had different things in this room with her.
You want to go into the pod thing?
Yeah, you want to talk about that idea. That idea.
I mean, I think we talked about it before that it was it wasn't the Thing ship. It was a space traveler with a biolab or a museum or something, and they had all these pods and collected different species, from different planets, or
it was like a zoological.
Yeah, and she would go inside. Basically, we thought they go inside before in the first act, and see that it broke free, but don't understand it. And had like corpses laying around, like in the same. Who looked the same like the Thing.
Yeah.
Sort of the Norwegian camp in a spaceship.
Yep.
But when we decided not to go in a spaceship in the beginning, and it was just too hard to explain now, because now she just wants to hunt this thing down, and not going into sort of a side trip of seeing all these pieces of evidence, and you just didn't get it. So we just concentrated on the Thing being somewhere in the spaceship, and she just has to kill it.
And this is sort of a control column?
Yeah, we had to sort of go back to that signal, the Norwegian pickup in the beginning, as if this is sort of the core of the ship, and that always stayed some sort of alive.
And there's the monster behind her. And so this was a, very late stage decision to integrate Sander into the creature, so that it was, the sort of resolution of her conflict with him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's been fighting Sander through the whole movie, and she's been fighting the Thing through the whole movie. It's sort of to combine those two elements into one creature. Seems sort of logic.
This was stuff we reshot.
Yeah. I shot so many minutes that day.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
That was crazy.
I think it was like 22 hours straight shooting.
Yeah.
New crew. Switched out the crew.
Yeah. Which they were really helpful, but it's always difficult to restart.
And very depressing when all the people that you know leave and you're still there shooting, and a new group comes in and you don't really know them, and caterer's different, and it was sort of sad, but really good.
I always love quiet moments.
Yeah.
In scary movies. Yeah, we had a different ending of this, but it didn't completely work.
I can't even remember what it was.
She's cornered by this monster.
Joel comes in.
And Joel comes in, and she sort of threatens Joel to blow up the monster, and he basically, to preserve, he sort of feels forced to kill his own kind.
He has to choose.
Not to give away that he's a thing, which on paper really worked. But executing it, it was just, what's going on? There was a bag of flesh we blew up. Yeah, the purpose of this last sequence, and even talking to Marco, is, can we sort of create this semi-happy end feel?
Yeah.
But not overstate it, but that you think as an audience or as a true fan, oh my God, it's sort of a Hollywood ending. Mm-hmm. In a way like...
The guy and the girl made it.
Yeah,
and
they sort of drive off.
It's like a James Bond. It's like a James Bond movie. They're in a...
Yeah, that you get a sort of... I was searching for this sort of uncomfortable happy end feeling, but if it was too happy end, you would give it away that it would not be a happy end. So it was like finding the right tone.
This was always, from the beginning, we planned on her burning him, I think. It was too good an opportunity to pass up, and we struggled a little bit with should it be clear that he's a creature, or should it be
we had a version
that he's a human?
Yeah, we had a version where, and it sort of worked as well, where when she burns him, you don't know if he's a creature.
Yeah,
if she's like mentally so fucked up that's just by thinking it, she does it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'll put this in the back.
I wonder if you already feel that something's wrong at this point, or...
I don't know. It's funny. It's so difficult to experience a movie that you... I mean, I know I lost objectivity so long ago, so...
Yeah.
I know I still like it, and that's a very good sign. But it's also just because it's Joel and you like him so much, and he's a cool man's man.
Yeah.
And this little 5'7" girl is gonna burn him with a flamethrower.
It was your other ear.
I like how she plays this.
Yeah.
Like generally hurts that
steps back and lifts it. Yeah, she's not happy about having to burn him. They could have happened. They could have had a future.
Okay. What are you doing?
What's that light in the upper right corner there? The sun?
Where? No, it's a little. It is sort of a lamp inside.
Kate!
I like the determined look on her face. She has to do it because she knows. Yeah, I like this shot as well.
I do too. I love it.
So what do you think will happen to Kate after this?
I think she's probably gonna go to 31 and come in at the end of McCready. I think she's gonna make it. Either she'll go back to the Norwegian camp. Lars will be gone.
Yeah, but that can't happen because the next morning, McGreedy and Doc arrive at the camp.
She could have left again. They're there.
But then she would bump into Lars. So she can't.
Well, Lars might have left. So if you're looking right now, okay, so right now at Outpost 31, they're sleeping, and they're gonna wake up.
Yeah.
McCready's gonna play chess,
and then the dog arrives, and the
dog's gonna arrive, and that'll be about dawn, the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So by the time the helicopter takes off and chases the dog, she's probably showing up back at the Norwegian camp if she can figure out how to drive this thing.
Yeah. Which is hard.
Which is hard, but it takes her a while. So she gets back at around 9:30. Everyone's gone. She, takes what she can.
Yeah, but then she would bump into Lars.
No, he's already gone. I think he's already gone.
Maybe.
So I think it's now, she's she's figured it out and she's driving back. She hears the helicopter probably and thinks, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
J. Miles Dale, good man.
Yeah.
David Foster and Lawrence Turman, who are the producers of the original movie, and Bree Neiman, who works with us and worked really hard on this movie and did a great job.
So here you see what's left from. It still has a little bit of that big cone thing, but that burns away, in a couple of hours. So when Doc and McGreedy arrive, that's gone as well.
Julian Clark and Peter Boyle. Julian, who.
Many, many thanks to Julian.
Yes, great work.
This is Matthijs.
Yeah.
Who you see in JC's movie. Blown up by Lars.
No, he blows himself up. No. Lars drops the grenade.
Lars throws the grenade backwards and blows up the grenade. The helicopter. There's
Colin.
He almost looks like the guy in JC's movie.
Yeah. ECO. Match the gun.
Yeah.
And the helicopter.
Yeah. Yeah, that was also special to see the helicopter.
Christopher. I also like Frozen Lars. And it's sort of surreal, a guy pointing a gun at you and making you open your mouth. It's like,
he's going
that
nuts.
guy.
It's clearly nuts.
The funny thing is that guy, Matthijs, the helicopter pilot, he dies probably having no idea
what
the fuck happened.
He saw the split face on the floor.
Just that a crazy guy, a crazy guy he knows, made him fly chasing a dog.
Yeah.
Denise Chamian, who we love, did great. Really cast this movie
Lewis
so well.
well.
Lewis.
Yeah.
What was the name of the Norwegian casting?
That I don't know.
She was great too.
Yeah. It was great to shoot this.
Jesper, Sweden.
Yes, our Swedish.
Alec and Tom, ADI, who are truly, I think, the best guys in the business right now. Marco did a great job, and Buck, who works with him.
So this is original footage.
This is Carpenter stuff.
Yeah. This is our stuff. This is Carpenter stuff.
And there we have it. Thank you for listening and for watching the movie again. Hopefully this isn't the first time you watched it.
No.
You're watching it to hear it.
If you listen to this track, this is the whole Rec Room Attack music part.
How about the fact that we made a movie without us? The only non-score in this whole movie is that Norwegian Eurovision song. I kind of like that. No, we really, we didn't want to date it one way or the other. Petra, who was our effects producer, who did fantastic
also
work.
Thanks to Jono and Frank.
Yeah.
Jono is my commercial
Frank
editor.
Urosity. And all these people, good, really good. Gilles. great operator.
Yeah, he helped me a lot.
Kieran, great operator.
Yeah, it was an overwhelming, but in the same time very exciting experience shooting your first movie.
Yeah, and it was it was fun. Linda Dowds, always a pleasure. Key makeup.
And Paul Elliott, hairstylist. This is good.
Marie Claude, great production coordinator.
Because in the reshoots we had to sort of stick some beards on.
Oh man!
Because the Norwegians came back and they've been in other shows and so Paul did a good job of doing the fake beards. Well, I hope you enjoyed our rambling.
Yeah, and that it was coherent. And thank you for watching. There's our second unit, Clay and David.
Yeah,
did great work. Clay Staub and David Franco.
Yeah.
Now, if you finish this, you can watch the John Carpenter version and compare them. Well, don't compare them. Just enjoy them together. Thank you.
Thank you so much.